AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she replaced my daughter as the flower girl with her dog. I, 34 am, have a daughter, Lily, 6, who absolutely adores my younger sister Megan, 29. Megan has always been the fun aunt. She takes Lily to the park, buys her little gifts, and lets her stay up late when she visits. Because of that, Lily was thrilled when Megan got engaged last year. Early in the wedding planning, Megan asked Lily to be the flower girl. She did it in a whole little ceremony with a tiny basket and a card. Lily cried happy tears and carried that basket around the house for weeks. She told everyone at school she was going to be the flower girl at Aunt Megan's wedding. My wife and I thought it was sweet. Around that same time, Megan also started bringing her dog, a golden retriever named Charlie, everywhere. I'm not anti-dog at all, but Megan treats Charlie like he's a literal child. She has a stroller for him and throws him birthday parties. About 4 months ago, Megan casually mentioned she was thinking of having Charlie walk down the aisle during the ceremony because it would be cute. We said that sounded fine. I assumed the dog would just walk with the bridesmaids or something. 2 weeks ago, we went to a small family dinner where Megan was talking about the ceremony. Lily asked excitedly if she could practice throwing the petals soon. Megan got a weird look and said, "Oh, about that." Apparently, Megan had decided that Charlie would be the one walking down the aisle with the flower basket attached as harness. She said people love dogs at weddings, and it would make for amazing photos. Lily immediately looked confused and said, "But I'm the flower girl." Megan said something like, "You can still walk with Daddy if you want." My daughter's face fell. She didn't cry right away, but she went really quiet. Later that night, she asked me if she did something wrong and why Aunt Megan didn't want her to be the flower girl anymore. That absolutely broke my heart. Here's the part that complicates things. I've been helping Megan pay for the wedding. Our parents passed away years ago, and I've always tried to look out for her. When she got engaged, she admitted money was tight, so I offered to cover the venue deposit and a few other big expenses as my wedding gift. So far, I've paid a little over $7,000 toward the wedding. The next day, I called Megan and told her that replacing Lily with a dog after already asking her was cruel. I said if she wanted the dog in the ceremony, that was fine, but she should let Lily still be the flower girl. Megan said it's her wedding, and she should be allowed to do what she wants. She also said Lily is young and will get over it. Then she said the dog thing is important to her because Charlie has been with her through hard times. I told her I wasn't asking her to remove Charlie entirely. Just let my daughter do the job she was promised. She refused and said I was being dramatic. So I told her that if Lily isn't the flower girl, I'm no longer comfortable funding the wedding. I said I'd still attend and support her emotionally, but the financial help would stop. Megan completely lost it. She accused me of trying to control her wedding with money. She said if my help came with conditions, then I was never actually helping out of love. Now a bunch of extended family members are involved. Some say Megan is being ridiculous and cruel to a kid. Others say it's her wedding and I shouldn't be threatening to pull money over something like this. Megan also told everyone I'm punishing her because she loves her dog. That's not how I see it. To me, it's about the fact that she made a big promise to a 6-year-old and then replaced her with an animal for aesthetic reasons. My wife supports me, but also worries this could permanently destroy my relationship with my sister. Meanwhile, Lily keeps asking if she can still wear the flower girl dress we bought. So now the family is split. The wedding budget apparently has a hole in it, and my sister isn't speaking to me. Ida, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious. When do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to help my sister after she ruined the one thing I worked on for years. I'm 29F, and my younger sister Lily is 26. Growing up, Lily was always the golden child. My parents never outright said it, but everyone in the family knew it. She was charismatic, funny, and the type of person who could walk into a room and immediately make friends. I was more quiet and focused on school and hobbies. One of those hobbies turned into something really important to me, baking. I started baking when I was about 15 after my grandmother taught me how to make bread. Over the years, I got better and better. I experimented constantly, took classes, watched tutorials, and eventually started selling cakes and pastries to friends and coworkers. About 4 years ago, I decided to take it seriously and start a small home bakery. It wasn't a huge business, but it grew steadily. I spent thousands of hours perfecting recipes, designing cakes, building a small customer base, and promoting my work online. Slowly, it became more than just a side gig. Last year, I finally quit my office job and went full-time. Lily, on the other hand, has always bounced between jobs. She's very social and creative, but she doesn't stick with things long. She's tried photography, streaming, event planning, and even briefly selling handmade jewelry. A few months ago, she suddenly became very interested in baking. At first, I thought it was nice. She asked me questions, watched me work, and even helped decorate a few cupcakes once. I didn't think much of it. Then one day, she told me she had started her own bakery page online. I was a little surprised, but I tried to be supportive. The thing that bothered me, though, was that her photos looked suspiciously similar to mine. At first, I thought maybe it was coincidence. But then a friend sent me a screenshot of Lily's page asking if I had started a second account. She had literally reposted several of my photos. Same cakes, same lighting, same table setup. The only difference was that my watermark had been cropped out. I confronted her about it immediately. She laughed it off and said it was just temporary because she didn't have enough content yet. She said everyone does that when starting out, and she'd replace the photos later. I told her that was not okay, because those are my actual products and customers might think she made them. She rolled her eyes and said I was overreacting. A week later, things got worse. Someone left a negative comment on my business page complaining that a cake they ordered was sloppy and tasted bad. I was confused because I didn't recognize the order. After messaging them, it turned out they had ordered from Lily because they thought her page was mine. She had used my photos, but delivered something completely different. I was furious. I told Lily she needed to remove every photo that wasn't hers immediately. Instead, she got defensive and said I should be helping her instead of attacking her. She claimed I was being selfish and acting like I owned baking. After a huge argument, she finally deleted the photos, but the damage was already done. I lost 2 potential orders that week because people thought I was the one who made the bad cake. For me, this business is not just a hobby. It's my livelihood and something I worked on for years. Fast forward to last week. Lily called me crying because her bakery page wasn't doing well. She said people weren't ordering and that she realized baking was harder than she expected. She asked if I could help her by promoting her page to my followers or even letting her help me with orders so she could learn. I told her no. I said I didn't trust her after what she did and that I wasn't willing to risk my business again. She got really upset and said I was holding a grudge over a small mistake. She also told our parents, who now think I'm being cruel and unsupportive. My mom said families should help each other and that Lily clearly looks up to me. But the way I see it, she didn't just copy me. She used my work, damaged my reputation, and then dismissed my concerns. Now half my family is saying I should give her another chance and help her get started properly. I still feel like saying no is the safest choice for me and my business. AITA? AITA for refusing to let my sister stay with me after she abandoned her kids? I, 32F, have always been the responsible one in my family. I have a steady job, own a modest apartment, and have been careful to maintain a stable life. My sister, Emily, 29F, has always been more free-spirited. She has 3 kids under the age of 10, and while she loves them, she's never been very consistent with parenting. Our parents live out of state, so I often end up filling in when things get chaotic. A couple of months ago, Emily called me in a panic. She had decided to take a last-minute trip out of the country for a soul-searching retreat with her friends. I asked what she meant, and she told me she needed some time away from her responsibilities. I reminded her she had 3 young children and a home to care for, but she said she had arranged for a friend to watch them. I felt uneasy, but I let it go because she seemed convinced. 2 days later, I got a frantic call from the friend she had supposedly arranged for. The friend said she had agreed to watch the kids for one night, but couldn't take them for the entire week. Emily had left no detailed instructions, no extra money, nothing, and her friend was completely overwhelmed. The kids were scared and confused. I felt angry, but mostly concerned for their well-being. I immediately booked a flight to help. I spent the next few days handling everything, feeding the kids, making sure they were in school or daycare, and trying to get Emily's landlord to agree to temporary arrangements. During this time, Emily was posting photos of herself on social media, clearly enjoying her trip. I didn't contact her except to ask for updates about the kids and to tell her she needed to return soon. Her response was dismissive, saying that she was doing this for herself and that I should just hold it together at home. When she finally returned a week later, she expected me to have everything back to normal and her kids to be completely okay. The youngest had a mild stomach bug because of irregular meals and stress, and the oldest was acting out from the anxiety of being separated from her mom. I was frustrated and told her that she needed to take responsibility for what had happened. She accused me of being controlling and said I was overreacting. A week later, Emily called again, saying that she had to go on another last-minute trip. This time it was for a work opportunity overseas that she claimed would change her life. She asked if she could stay at my apartment for a few nights before leaving because her flight was early in the morning and she didn't want to wake her kids. I told her no. I explained that after the last incident, I wasn't comfortable putting her needs above the welfare of her children, especially in my own home. She became very upset and accused me of being selfish. I offered alternatives. She could stay at a nearby hotel or her parents' house, but she was furious. She told me that family is supposed to support each other and that I was being cruel. I reminded her that family support doesn't mean abandoning your children and leaving me to manage the chaos she created. She then started sending angry messages to our parents, claiming that I was being unreasonable and heartless. My parents were understandably upset and called me to ask why I wouldn't let her stay. I explained everything in detail, emphasizing that this was about her responsibility as a parent, not about denying her comfort. The argument escalated online. My sister posted a long rant on social media about how I refused to help her and painted me as the villain in the family. Friends and distant relatives started commenting, and some even messaged me saying I should just let her crash. I tried to clarify in comments that this was about her leaving her children in an unsafe situation and expecting me to clean up her mess, but the responses were mixed. Meanwhile, Emily started making minor changes in her life that required me to accommodate her. She wanted me to pick her up from the airport, drive her to appointments, and even watch her kids during small errands, claiming that since I did it once, it was fine. I set firm boundaries, refusing to be her personal assistant or her replacement parent. This led to another confrontation where she accused me of holding grudges and not being a good sister. I have not allowed her to stay at my apartment since then. She still visits occasionally to see her kids, but we only meet in neutral spaces. The tension is high, and our parents are frustrated with both of us. I feel guilty sometimes for not bending to her wishes, but I also feel that letting her stay after what happened would send the wrong message, that it's okay to abandon her responsibilities and still expect others to accommodate her. I asked a mutual friend what they thought, and they said I was right to protect my home and sanity. Still, part of me worries I might be too harsh, especially since she's my sister and her life seems complicated. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister stay at my apartment after she repeatedly abandoned her kids and put me in stressful situations. AITA for refusing to let my sister stay with me after she caused a huge scene at my wedding. So I, 32F, have always been close to my younger sister, Emma, 28F. We grew up in a pretty tight-knit family and were practically inseparable through childhood and into our early 20s. Over the last few years, though, Emma's behavior has become increasingly difficult. She can be really self-centered and has a tendency to create drama wherever she goes. I've tried to be patient, but honestly, it's been wearing me down. My wedding was last month, and leading up to it, Emma kept making comments that rubbed me the wrong way. She insisted that her dress had to be the most eye-catching in the bridal party, even though I had clearly told everyone I wanted to avoid that. She also tried to help with the seating chart, completely ignoring my decisions and suggesting that some of my guests didn't deserve to sit at the main table. I ignored most of it, thinking I could just enjoy my big day and hope she would calm down. The wedding itself was mostly wonderful, but the drama hit during the reception. Emma had been drinking and started loudly complaining that the food was terrible, calling the chef names in front of everyone. When I politely asked her to stop, she threw a full-on tantrum, yelling that I was always trying to control her, and stormed out of the reception. My husband and I were embarrassed, but we tried to move past it and enjoy the rest of the night. My parents later told me that Emma had left without saying goodbye to anyone. After the wedding, things got worse. Emma started texting me almost daily, alternating between apologies and passive-aggressive complaints about how everyone was ganging up on her at the wedding. I tried to set boundaries, responding politely, but keeping the conversation short. A week after the wedding, she sent me a message saying she needed a place to stay for a couple of weeks because her apartment was having plumbing issues. Normally, I would help, but I was still upset about her behavior at my wedding and didn't want to deal with her constant drama. I told her I couldn't have her stay with me, suggesting she look into a short-term rental or stay with a friend. Emma didn't take this well. She started calling and texting me repeatedly, accusing me of being selfish and saying that our family had always favored me over her. She even threatened to tell my parents that I was kicking her out, which wasn't true because she wasn't staying with me yet. I tried to stay calm and reiterated that I wasn't comfortable hosting her right now, but she didn't stop. My parents got involved, and they were upset with me, saying that I should be helping my sister in her time of need. I explained that her behavior at the wedding made me feel unsafe and stressed, and that hosting her wasn't something I could handle at the moment. The situation escalated when Emma started showing up uninvited at my apartment one evening. I wasn't home, but my husband encountered her and asked her to leave. She yelled at him, calling him controlling and rude, and left only after he threatened to call the police. My parents are now furious at me for what they call turning my back on family, and have been pressuring me to apologize and let Emma stay with me. They argue that I'm overreacting and that she was just upset about the wedding, not trying to be malicious. I feel torn. On one hand, I want to support my sister, but on the other hand, her behavior has become toxic and I don't feel comfortable having her in my home. I've set boundaries, but my family keeps saying I'm being unreasonable. I even offer to help her find alternative accommodations and offer to drive her there if needed, but they insist that isn't enough. Recently, I heard from a mutual friend that Emma has been telling people I abandoned her after the wedding and that I'm a terrible sister. This hurts because I genuinely care about her, but I also know that hosting her right now would be incredibly stressful and could damage my relationship with my husband and myself. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister stay with me after she caused a huge scene at my wedding? I feel like I'm justified in protecting my home and my peace of mind, but my family sees it as cruel. I want to maintain a relationship with Emma, but I don't think letting her move in temporarily is the right choice. I'm looking for an outside perspective because I'm worried I might be missing something and possibly overreacting. I love my sister, but I also need to set boundaries to protect myself. I just don't know if I'm being selfish or if my family is overstepping. I feel like I'm stuck between wanting to be a good sister and needing to maintain my sanity. Has anyone else dealt with a family member who consistently causes drama and then expects support? How do you balance empathy with protecting your own space and well-being? AITA for refusing to let my younger sister's boyfriend move in with us after he lost his job. I, 28F, live with my younger sister, Emily, 24F, in a 2-bedroom apartment in a mid-sized city. We've been living together for about 3 years now, and for the most part, things have gone smoothly. I have a stable job as a project manager at a tech company, and Emily works part-time at a local bookstore while finishing her degree. Our dynamic has always been that we split rent and bills evenly, and I handle a little extra when she's short on cash. We've always been transparent with each other about finances, responsibilities, and guests. A few months ago, Emily started dating a guy named Josh, 26M. At first, everything seemed fine. I met him a couple of times, and while he seemed a bit reserved, I didn't think much of it. Emily seemed happy, and I didn't want to interfere. Things started to get complicated about 2 months into their relationship when Josh lost his job. He was let go from a marketing firm due to budget cuts, and immediately he began dropping hints about needing a place to stay. Emily told me that Josh had been struggling with finding work and suggested that he might move in with us temporarily until he got back on his feet. I immediately felt uneasy. Our apartment isn't that big. There's only one spare bedroom, which is Emily's room, and I was not okay with having someone else living here long term. I mentioned that while I understood his situation, I didn't think it was fair to impose on us, especially since Emily had not discussed it with me before bringing it up as a done deal. She got defensive, saying that I was being unsympathetic and that I should be more understanding of Josh's circumstances. I tried to explain that understanding someone's situation doesn't mean I have to compromise my living space or financial stability. Emily argued that it would only be temporary, maybe a few weeks, until Josh found another job. I told her I wasn't comfortable with that arrangement and suggested that he could stay at a friend's place, a short-term sublet, or even a motel if necessary. Emily insisted that those options weren't good enough, and she started to get visibly frustrated with me. She claimed I was turning my back on family and accused me of valuing my apartment over her happiness. Over the next few weeks, the tension grew. Emily began inviting Josh over more frequently, often staying overnight, which I tolerated up to a point. But it started to feel like the apartment wasn't my space anymore. Josh didn't have much of a routine. He would sleep in late, leave dishes in the sink, and expect Emily to accommodate him constantly. I felt like my boundaries were being completely ignored. When I brought this up, Emily said I was overreacting and needed to learn to live with people. I reminded her that this wasn't just about cohabitation. It was about the lack of consideration and planning. One evening, Emily told me she wanted Josh to officially move in because we're practically living together anyway. I said no. I explained that I couldn't agree to someone else living here without a serious plan. I suggested that she could help him look for an affordable room nearby or apply for short-term housing. Emily was furious. She accused me of being cruel and unsupportive, saying that she couldn't believe I would choose my comfort over helping someone she cared about. I tried to stay calm and reiterated that my refusal wasn't a judgment on Josh as a person. It was about boundaries, financial responsibility, and respect for shared space. The situation escalated when Emily stopped speaking to me for 2 days. During that time, she moved Josh's things into the apartment without my consent, claiming that he was just getting settled and that I should accept it. I confronted her, and we had a heated argument. She accused me of being selfish and uncaring. I told her that while I cared about her and wanted her to be happy, I couldn't compromise my living situation or let someone else dictate how we manage our home. Eventually, I set a firm boundary. Josh could visit for a few hours during the day, but he was not allowed to move in. I also told Emily that if she continued to disrespect this boundary, we might need to reevaluate our living arrangement. Emily accused me of giving her an ultimatum and stormed out. She has since been distant, barely talking to me except for practical matters like bills. Josh hasn't moved in, but he still comes over frequently, and the atmosphere in our apartment is tense. I feel like I'm in the right, but I can't shake the guilt. I understand that Josh is struggling and that Emily wants to support him, but I also know that bringing him in without my consent would disrupt our lives and put an unfair burden on me financially and emotionally. Emily's friends say I'm being harsh and need to compromise, but I feel like I've already compromised enough by letting him visit so often. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend move in with us, even though he lost his job and needs support. I want to maintain a good relationship with Emily, but I also need to protect my home and my boundaries. How do I navigate this without completely alienating her? AITA for not attending my sister's wedding because of a long-standing family feud? This all started about 10 years ago. My sister, Emily, and I have never really had a smooth relationship, but things reached a breaking point when we were both in our early 20s. Back then, we were both living at home and struggling to find our independence. Emily had this habit of borrowing things from me, clothes, makeup, even money, without asking. At first, I tried to let it slide, thinking that she was my sister and that sharing was part of being family. But over time, it became clear that she didn't respect my boundaries at all. She would take my things, use them for weeks, and then either deny having done it or act as though I was overreacting for being upset. The final straw came when I lent her a dress for a job interview. She promised to return it after the interview, but when I went to get it back, it had been altered beyond recognition and stained. I was furious, and when I confronted her, she accused me of being controlling and selfish. That argument escalated into a full-blown shouting match, and our parents refused to get involved. They told me we should just work it out ourselves, but Emily refused to apologize or acknowledge the damage she caused. From that point on, I decided to maintain strict boundaries. I moved out as soon as I could and minimized contact with her, only speaking when necessary during family gatherings. Fast forward to the present, Emily got engaged about a year ago. Initially, I didn't think much about it. I congratulated her from a distance and tried to maintain civility during family phone calls. But then the wedding plans started, and that's when things got complicated. Emily wanted a big, elaborate wedding with all of the extended family present. She started sending out save-the-dates and formal invitations. My parents asked me if I would attend, and I hesitated. I knew that going would require me to interact with Emily for an extended period, and I feared that any encounter could reignite old arguments or lead to passive-aggressive drama in front of our relatives. I tried explaining my feelings to my parents. I told them that I hadn't had a healthy relationship with Emily for years, and that attending her wedding would be emotionally exhausting and potentially damaging. I suggested that I could send a gift or a card to show that I wished her well without putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. My parents reacted negatively. They said that I was letting a feud ruin a happy occasion, and that family should put differences aside for events like weddings. I tried to explain that the feud wasn't some trivial argument that could be swept under the rug. It was the result of years of disrespect and emotional strain. They didn't seem to understand and accused me of being stubborn and selfish. Emily herself found out that I was considering not attending, and she confronted me via text. She accused me of holding grudges and ruining her special day. She made it clear that my absence would be noticed by the entire family and that she felt hurt by my decision. I tried responding calmly, explaining that it wasn't about being spiteful, but about protecting my own mental health. I suggested that perhaps we could reconnect after the wedding or meet in a neutral setting, but she dismissed the idea. Her response made it clear that my only options were attending her wedding and risking emotional turmoil, or staying home and being labeled the bad sibling. After a lot of thought, I decided to skip the wedding. I sent a card and a gift, explaining that I wish her the best and that I hoped we could find a way to rebuild our relationship in the future. My parents were furious. They called me multiple times, insisting that I needed to go, and even hinted that I was being disrespectful to the rest of the family. Several relatives reached out as well, expressing disappointment and saying things like, "It's just one day. Why make it about old arguments?" I started to feel a mixture of guilt and relief. I missed the family drama, but I also felt proud for finally standing up for my boundaries after years of feeling invalidated. The aftermath has been tense. Emily hasn't spoken to me since the wedding, except for one curt thank you message for the gift. Some family members have tried to mediate, saying that I should apologize or make an effort to attend family events more regularly. But I feel that it's unfair to expect me to force myself into situations that are emotionally harmful. On the other hand, I do feel sad about the possibility of permanently alienating my sister and other relatives. I've considered family therapy, but I'm not sure Emily would participate willingly. I can't help but wonder if I made the wrong decision. Part of me thinks that a wedding is a significant life event, and maybe I should have swallowed my pride for a day. But another part of me feels that I am justified in protecting my mental health and that attending would not have resolved anything. It would have only reinforced the unhealthy dynamic that caused the feud in the first place. So, Reddit, AITA for not attending my sister's wedding due to a long-standing feud? I want to maintain my mental health, but I also feel the weight of family expectations and the guilt of potentially hurting someone I once cared about deeply. I'm torn between standing firm on my boundaries and the fear that I'll be seen as the villain in my family's story forever. I'm sharing this here because I genuinely don't know if I handled it reasonably or if I overreacted. Has anyone else had to navigate a situation where attending a major family event felt more harmful than beneficial? I'm struggling to find the balance between self-care and familial obligation, and any perspective would be appreciated. AITA for refusing to let my brother's girlfriend live with us, even though she's going through a rough patch. I-28F. Live in a 3-bedroom apartment in a mid-sized city with my partner, Alex, 30M. We've been together for 5 years, and honestly, our life is very routine, but we like it that way. Our apartment isn't huge, but it's comfortable for the two of us. About 6 months ago, my younger brother, Ryan, 25M, started dating a woman named Sophie, 24F. Sophie and I get along decently. She's sweet enough, though I don't feel like we have a particularly strong bond. A few weeks ago, Ryan called me one evening, sounding stressed. Apparently, Sophie had a falling out with her parents and had nowhere to stay for the next month. Ryan, feeling desperate, asked if Sophie could stay with Alex and me until she got back on her feet. My initial reaction was hesitation. Our apartment is already tight for 2 people, and adding a third for an undefined amount of time felt overwhelming. I tried to explain this gently to Ryan over the phone, but he insisted, saying she literally has nowhere else, and this is a real emergency. I told him I'd think about it and discuss it with Alex. Alex was very clear. He didn't want someone living with us long term. He pointed out that our schedules, our space, and our finances weren't designed for a third person. He also mentioned that he was uncomfortable with the idea of living with Ryan's girlfriend, whom we barely know, for weeks on end. I texted Ryan back, saying that while I sympathized, I didn't think it was a good idea for Sophie to move in with us. I offered to help her find temporary housing or even contribute to a small hotel stay if needed. That's when things started to spiral. Ryan got upset, accusing me of being selfish and not family-oriented. He said that if the roles were reversed, I'd expect him to do the same. He also tried to guilt-trip me, saying that I didn't understand the stress and trauma Sophie was going through. I tried to remain calm and reiterated that our place wasn't suitable for an extended stay, but Ryan escalated things by sending Alex a long message about how I was being unreasonable and unsympathetic. Alex, predictably, got frustrated and told Ryan he needed to respect our boundaries. Ryan then stopped talking to me for a couple of days, and Sophie sent me a message saying she felt unwelcome and that family should help family. I didn't respond because I didn't want to make things worse. About a week later, Sophie showed up at our apartment unannounced. She claimed she was just dropping off some things, but it quickly became clear that she expected to stay. Alex was furious, and I was embarrassed and stressed. I told her firmly that she could not stay and that we had made this decision clear. Sophie got upset and accused me of being cold and heartless and stormed out, threatening to talk to Ryan. Ryan called later livid. He yelled that I was pushing people away when they need you most and questioned whether I cared about family at all. I tried to explain that helping someone doesn't necessarily mean letting them live with you, especially when it's inconvenient or impractical. I offered again to help her financially or assist in finding temporary accommodation, but Ryan didn't want to hear it. He's been giving me the silent treatment for almost 2 weeks now. During this time, mutual friends and family have started weighing in. Some say I was right to set boundaries, but others have called me selfish and cold. My parents have stayed mostly neutral but expressed disappointment, saying that family should always be willing to help, especially when someone is in need. My friends are divided. Some understand that having someone live in a small apartment for an undefined period is stressful, while others think I could have handled it more compassionately. The situation has created tension not just with Ryan and Sophie, but also with other family members who are subtly pressuring me. Every time the topic comes up, I feel trapped between maintaining my boundaries and feeling guilty for not doing more. Alex has been supportive, but he's worried about ongoing drama, especially if Ryan refuses to communicate with us. What complicates matters further is that Sophie has started posting on social media about her rough month and unsupportive family, which indirectly includes me. Some mutual acquaintances have commented, expressing shock at my refusal to help. This has made me feel both defensive and frustrated. I believe that offering financial or logistical support is still helping, but apparently, That's not what Ryan and Sophie want to hear. I genuinely feel that my apartment is not a safe or fair space for a temporary stay by someone I barely know, even if they are family. I also think it's reasonable for Alex and me to protect our living environment and mental health. I want to help in ways that don't require me to compromise my home and routines, but now I'm being framed as selfish. I understand that family can be complicated, but I'm struggling to reconcile wanting to help and not feeling obligated to sacrifice my home for someone else's problems. I'm not sure if I handled the situation poorly or if Ryan and Sophie are expecting too much. I don't want this to permanently damage my relationship with my brother, but I also can't risk turning my apartment into a long-term shelter. So, AITA for refusing to let my brother's girlfriend live with us, even though she's going through a rough patch. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she asked me to do something I find humiliating. I, 28F, have always had a complicated relationship with my older sister, Emily, 32F. Growing up, Emily was the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect friends, perfect everything. I was the troublemaker of the family, constantly compared to her and often made to feel like nothing I did was good enough. Over the years, we've tried to mend our relationship, and for the most part, things have been civil. We talk, we see each other during holidays, and we support each other when it matters. But there's always been this underlying tension, mostly stemming from how our parents treated us differently and how Emily seems to expect the world to bend to her wishes. Recently, Emily got engaged to her fiancé, David, 34M. I was genuinely happy for her. David seems like a good guy, and I wanted to be supportive. When she first asked me to be a bridesmaid, I was excited. I love being involved in family events and making my sister feel special, despite our complicated history. I told her yes, and we began discussing dresses, schedules, and the usual bridesmaid stuff. A couple of weeks ago, Emily called me with what she called a unique request. She explained that she wanted all her bridesmaids to participate in a bachelorette performance at the wedding reception. This would involve dressing and matching, revealing costumes, and performing a choreographed dance to a song she picked out. I was shocked. The costumes were not just revealing. They were downright uncomfortable and included elements I personally would never wear in public. The dance was provocative, involving hip thrusts and moves that made me extremely uncomfortable. I told Emily that I didn't feel comfortable performing in that way. I explained that it was humiliating to me and that I had boundaries about public displays of my body. I emphasized that I was happy to help with other aspects of the wedding, like planning, decorations, or being there to support her, but that this particular request crossed a line for me. Emily didn't take it well. She accused me of ruining her vision and said that if I wasn't willing to participate, maybe I shouldn't be a bridesmaid at all. She went on about how it's her wedding and how she should get exactly what she wants, and that I was being selfish and controlling by refusing. I tried to stay calm, but she kept pressing, saying that bridesmaids were supposed to support the bride no matter what, and that not participating would be embarrassing for her in front of her friends and family. I felt trapped. On one hand, I didn't want to hurt her feelings or create drama, but on the other hand, I could not bring myself to do something that made me feel degraded and uncomfortable. I asked if we could find a compromise, maybe a different routine, different costumes, or a way I could participate without feeling exposed. But Emily said that wouldn't work and that the performance had to be exactly as she envisioned. Over the next few days, the tension grew. She sent passive-aggressive messages, asking why I was being so dramatic and claiming that I was overreacting. She even texted our parents, trying to get them to pressure me. Our parents were divided. My mom told me to think of Emily's feelings and suggested I just go along with it to avoid family conflict. My dad, surprisingly, supported my decision to stick to my boundaries, saying that no one should be forced to do something they're uncomfortable with. After much thought, I made the decision not to attend the wedding at all. I sent Emily a long message explaining my position. I told her that I loved her and that I wanted her to have a beautiful wedding, but that being asked to perform in a sexualized dance went against my personal boundaries and self-respect. I said that while I wanted to celebrate her marriage in spirit, I could not be part of the wedding itself if it required me to compromise my dignity. Emily responded with anger. She accused me of being selfish, immature, and ungrateful, and said I was punishing her for no reason. She claimed that I had embarrassed her in front of everyone by refusing to participate, and that I had ruined what should have been a joyful time. She also started posting cryptic messages on social media about family members who refused to support their loved ones, which I assume were about me. Some of our mutual friends have reached out, asking me to reconsider, saying that Emily is very hurt and that weddings are emotional and that I should just suck it up for one night. Others have told me that I'm right to hold my ground and that being asked to perform in a revealing dance is unreasonable and not a fair expectation of anyone. My parents have had ongoing discussions about it. My mom is still upset, saying I should have compromised for family harmony, while my dad says he's proud I'm sticking to my values. My extended family is now taking sides, and it's causing tension at family gatherings. I feel sad and guilty because I genuinely love Emily and don't want to lose my relationship with her. But at the same time, I can't force myself to do something that makes me feel humiliated and disrespected. I also feel frustrated because it seems like my boundaries are not being acknowledged or respected, and I don't want to compromise my self-respect to appease someone else's expectations. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she asked me to perform a sexualized dance that I find humiliating. I am torn between supporting my sister and standing up for my personal boundaries, and I want to know if I'm in the wrong for prioritizing my dignity over her wedding vision. Has anyone been in a similar situation where family expectations clash with personal comfort? How did you navigate it without causing permanent rifts? I'm hoping to hear some honest perspectives here because right now, I feel like I'm the bad guy in a situation I didn't even create, but also feel like I'm being asked to do something fundamentally wrong for me. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to lend my sister money after she made questionable financial choices. So, this is going to be long, but I'll try to explain everything as clearly as possible. I, 32F, have a younger sister, Megan, 28F, and we have always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, our parents were very different in how they handled money. Our dad was very strict with finances, always emphasizing saving, budgeting, and thinking ahead, while our mom was much more lenient and would often buy things impulsively. I think my sister inherited more of our mom's approach, and I lean more toward our dad's side. A few years ago, Megan got into a relationship with a man named Ryan, 30M. From the start, their financial habits seemed like a perfect storm of bad decisions. They would often spend lavishly, take trips they couldn't afford, and buy things on credit cards without thinking about the long-term consequences. When they moved in together, I tried to offer advice gently, suggesting budgeting apps, or even just basic rules like paying off the card each month. Megan would nod, but nothing ever changed. Fast forward to last year, Megan and Ryan hit a really rough patch financially. Their credit cards were maxed out, they were behind on rent for a couple of months, and they had almost no emergency savings. Ryan lost his job, and Megan's job was decent, but not enough to cover all their expenses. They started asking for help from family, including my parents. I had been living on my own for about 10 years by this point, saving a reasonable amount, and I have a mortgage and some investments. I don't live extravagantly, but I also don't have unlimited funds. Megan called me one evening, crying and explaining their situation. She said they needed $5,000 to cover rent and bills for the next 2 months. She assured me they would pay it back as soon as possible. My initial reaction was shock. $5,000 is a lot, and I had never lent money to her before because in the past she had borrowed small amounts and never returned them promptly. I asked a few questions. Had they cut any expenses? Had they spoken with their landlord about payment plans? Had they considered selling anything they didn't need? Megan said yes to everything, but I knew from past conversations that their spending habits rarely changed. I hesitated, but explained that I couldn't just hand over $5,000. I offered to help in other ways. I could help them set up a budget, look for part-time work for Ryan, negotiate with the landlord, or even help them sell items to cover some of the bills. Megan got upset and said I didn't care about her or her family. She accused me of being selfish and money-hungry, which hurt because I've never been unkind to her. I tried to explain that helping her in practical ways could prevent bigger problems later, but she didn't want to hear it. After our argument, she went to my parents, who, despite cautioning her in the past, ended up giving her some money to cover a portion of what she needed. I felt frustrated because I had been willing to help in practical ways, but I was painted as the villain for not giving cash. The situation escalated when Megan and Ryan continued to ask me for smaller amounts of money over the next several months. One month, it was $500 for groceries. Another month, it was $200 for car repairs. I started ignoring the requests because I felt that giving them money would never solve the root of the problem. When they realized I wasn't giving anything, they stopped talking to me as much, which has been hard. I care about my sister, but I also feel like I have to set boundaries. Recently, Megan posted on social media about how some family members refuse to support family in times of need, clearly hinting at me. I haven't responded publicly, but a few mutual friends have asked if I am the bad sister in this scenario. My parents have tried to mediate, but Megan is adamant that I am being selfish and uncaring. I honestly feel torn because I don't want to lose my sister, but I also feel strongly that enabling her financial habits will hurt her more in the long run. My friends mostly agree with me that setting boundaries is reasonable, but part of me wonders if I am too harsh. I do help in other ways, like giving career advice, helping with resumes, and even cooking meals sometimes, but she focuses only on money. I know money is sensitive, but I can't shake the feeling that lending her large sums would be irresponsible for both of us. So, Reddit AITA for refusing to lend my sister money after she made repeated poor financial decisions, even though she insists I am being selfish. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend move in with us after she said it would be temporary. I, 29F, have always been close to my younger sister, Maddie, 26F. We grew up in a small town, and I moved to the city for work about 8 years ago. Maddie stayed behind to finish college and build her career, and we've always stayed in touch, talking almost every day. Our relationship has generally been positive, but we've had a few disagreements over the years, mostly around boundaries and life choices. About 6 months ago, Maddie started dating someone new, Tom, 28M. From what I could tell, he was charming and seemed genuinely nice, but I hadn't spent a lot of time with him. Maddie is a very impulsive person when it comes to relationships, so I try to keep an open mind without getting too attached to the idea of him being part of my life long term. Fast forward to 3 months ago, Maddie called me in a panic. She and Tom had a huge fight, and she didn't have anywhere to stay. Her apartment lease was ending, and apparently, she hadn't secured a new place yet. She asked if she could come stay with me just for a couple of weeks while she figured things out. Normally, I'm very welcoming to family, so I agreed. I figured 2 weeks was manageable. She arrived with just a couple of suitcases, and Tom followed her the next day. This is where things started to get complicated. Maddie told me Tom would just crash on the couch for a few nights, but it quickly became clear that wasn't the plan. Within a week, Tom had claimed the spare bedroom as his own, and Maddie told me that he was really stressed out about moving again and needed some stability. I didn't love it, but I tried to be accommodating since she insisted it was temporary. Over the next month, the situation only got worse. Tom started treating my apartment like his own. He left dirty dishes everywhere, borrowed my clothes without asking, and brought friends over without warning. I tried talking to Maddie about boundaries, but she would always brush it off, saying, "He's just staying for a little while. Can't you just let it slide?" I tried, but it felt like the temporary situation had already turned into a full takeover of my space. The breaking point came a few weeks ago. I had a weekend plan with my friends, and Tom had invited himself along without asking. He didn't even consider my plans or the fact that he wasn't officially part of the group. That night, I told Maddie firmly that I couldn't continue having him live in my apartment. I explained that it wasn't about her, but about respecting my home and the agreements we made. Maddie exploded. She accused me of being selfish, controlling, and family should support each other no matter what. She said I was turning my back on her when she was going through a hard time. I stuck to my decision. I told her she could stay, but Tom could not. She threatened to move back to our hometown and never speak to me again if I didn't relent. I tried to reason with her, explaining that setting boundaries doesn't equal not caring. I also pointed out that she had other friends and extended family who could offer her support without violating my home rules. She eventually left for a few days, and I thought things might cool down. When she returned, she stayed in a hotel instead of moving back in, but she's still upset with me. She's been sending passive-aggressive texts, bringing up things from our childhood, and generally making me feel guilty. I feel like I did the right thing by standing my ground, but part of me wonders if I should have tried harder to accommodate her and Tom, especially since she was in a vulnerable place. Other family members are split. My parents think I handled it correctly because it's my home and my rules, but Maddie's friends say I should have been more compassionate and family comes first. Even some of my friends are divided. Some say I was reasonable, while others think I could have compromised by creating rules for Tom rather than outright refusing him. I've considered whether I could have done things differently, like offering temporary financial support for a hotel or helping them find an apartment. But I honestly didn't feel like it was my responsibility to solve their living situation indefinitely. I'm starting to feel like maybe I was too rigid, but I also know that giving in would likely have set a precedent that my boundaries don't matter. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend live with us permanently. Even though she claimed it was temporary and she was going through a tough time, I want to support her, but I also need to protect my own space and mental health. I'm bracing for a flood of opinions because this is a messy situation, but I genuinely want to understand if I overstepped or if standing firm was justified. AITA for refusing to attend my brother's wedding after discovering his fiancé's past actions. I, 28F, have always been close to my older brother, Jason, 32M. Growing up, we were practically inseparable despite our 3-year age difference. We shared everything from childhood secrets to high school dramas. Our parents divorced when I was 12, but Jason and I became each other's support system, so even through our teenage years, we remained extremely close. Recently, Jason got engaged to a woman named Lauren, 30F. At first, I was cautiously happy for him. He had been single for a while, and I was relieved he had finally found someone who seemed serious and kind. Lauren seemed polite and friendly in the few interactions I had with her. My excitement, however, started to diminish after a series of events that made me question her character. A few months ago, I stumbled upon a conversation online between Lauren and some of her old friends. It was on a social media platform I didn't normally use, and I found it by accident when searching for a funny meme she had posted. In that conversation, she was boasting about manipulating past partners, lying for personal gain, and taking advantage of people financially and emotionally. I couldn't believe what I was reading. At first, I thought maybe she was exaggerating or joking, but the tone of the messages and the level of detail made it clear that she was serious. I confronted my brother gently about what I had seen, hoping he might dismiss it as old drama or misunderstandings. He didn't. Jason acknowledged the conversation but downplayed it, saying, "People make mistakes in their past. That doesn't define who she is now. I know Lauren, and she's not that person anymore." I tried to express my concerns without attacking Lauren personally, but Jason seemed frustrated and insisted I trust his judgment. Over the next few months, I noticed more red flags. Lauren would subtly insult me in conversations, often disguised as jokes. She would criticize my job, my lifestyle, or my choices in a way that always left me feeling small. Jason dismissed these incidents as harmless teasing, saying, "She doesn't mean it like that. She's just sarcastic." But after everything I had learned about her past, I couldn't shake the feeling that she might be deliberately trying to sow discord in the family. The wedding planning started, and I was initially excited to be a part of it. I had envisioned helping with decorations, bridal showers, and even giving a toast. But as the date drew closer, I kept feeling increasingly uncomfortable. A week before the wedding, I overheard a conversation between Lauren and her mother where Lauren openly mocked Jason's family, calling us obnoxious and self-absorbed, and saying that she was only marrying him for stability and social image. I was devastated. I couldn't believe she would say something like that, knowing I could overhear it accidentally. I told Jason immediately. He was shocked at first, but again chose to defend her, saying that she was venting and that she didn't mean it seriously. I felt my stomach drop. I realized that if he could brush off this blatant disrespect, he would probably continue to ignore any future manipulations. My gut told me that attending the wedding would feel like endorsing or condoning her behavior. I made the decision to tell Jason that I couldn't attend the wedding. I explained that I couldn't be part of a celebration where I felt his partner had demonstrated manipulative and hurtful behavior, and where he seemed unwilling to acknowledge the truth. I offered to meet separately with Jason before the wedding to talk, but I couldn't go to the ceremony itself. The fallout was immediate. Jason was angry and hurt. He said I was betraying him and choosing her over family. Lauren, predictably, was delighted and made passive-aggressive comments about how some people just can't handle change and how I was self-righteous. My parents were caught in the middle. My mom said she understood my decision, while my dad told me I was being dramatic and should respect Jason's choices. Since then, I've received multiple messages from extended family asking why I'm not attending. Some have accused me of overreacting, saying that past mistakes shouldn't dictate present relationships and that everyone deserves a second chance. Others have expressed support, agreeing that Lauren's behavior, both past and present, was concerning. I have tried to maintain a civil relationship with Jason, but there's tension. We talk less frequently, and our usual closeness has been replaced with strained conversations. I know he thinks I'm overstepping, and part of me wonders if I'm being too rigid. But at the same time, I feel that my moral and emotional boundaries are being compromised if I participate in the wedding. I'm now struggling with guilt and uncertainty. Am I truly justified in my decision to skip my brother's wedding? Or am I letting my perception of Lauren's past dictate my actions in a way that might be unfair? I don't want to lose my relationship with Jason, but I also cannot ignore the patterns I've seen. I feel caught between loyalty to my brother and protecting myself from what I perceive as toxic behavior. I am fully prepared for the family fallout, and I have tried to explain my reasoning clearly and respectfully. Despite that, I still worry that I might be overreacting or creating an unnecessary rift in the family. So, AITA for refusing to attend my brother's wedding after discovering troubling aspects of his fiancée's past and witnessing behavior that I find manipulative and hurtful. AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé live with me and my husband before the wedding. I, 32F, have been married to my husband, Mark, 34M, for 7 years. We bought a house 3 years ago in a quiet suburban neighborhood, and we've been working hard to make it a comfortable and stable home for ourselves. We both have demanding jobs. Mark works in finance, and I am a nurse, and our home has become our sanctuary. My younger sister, Lisa, 28F, recently got engaged to her boyfriend, Alex, 30M. I've known Alex for a few years, and while I think he's generally a nice guy, he has a very different lifestyle from ours. He's extremely spontaneous, a bit messy, and not very responsible with money. He also has a history of bouncing between apartments and staying with friends and family for extended periods without clear plans. A couple of weeks ago, Lisa called me, sounding a bit hesitant. She said that Alex's lease had ended unexpectedly, and he didn't have anywhere to stay for a couple of months. She asked if it would be okay for him to stay with us until he found his own place, saying it would only be for a short time. My first reaction was hesitation, but I tried to be polite and asked her for more details. When she explained the situation, I told her that while I understood the urgency, I was uncomfortable with the idea. Our home is small, and we cherish our privacy. I work long, irregular hours, and having someone else living here could disrupt our routine. I also mentioned that Mark and I had plans for quiet weekends, hosting small gatherings, and maintaining our home as our personal space. Lisa sounded a bit hurt, but said she understood. A week later, she called again and tried a different approach. She said that since the wedding is only a few months away, Alex living with us would make planning and coordinating easier. She also said that he's been feeling depressed about moving out and that this would really help him. I tried to be empathetic, but I told her that I still wasn't comfortable with it. I offered to help him find temporary accommodation, like a short-term rental or staying with other friends or relatives. She got frustrated and said I was being selfish, implying that family should help each other in times of need. Then, things escalated. Lisa posted on social media about how Alex was struggling with housing and tagged me in a post, subtly shaming me for not helping family. Several of my relatives commented, saying I should just let him stay for a short while. I felt blindsided and pressured, and I explained to them in comments that while I cared for my sister, our home is our private space and that there are other solutions for temporary housing. Mark has been very supportive of my stance. He reminded me that boundaries are important, especially in our marriage. He also said that allowing Alex to stay could set a precedent that would be difficult to manage, and it might strain our relationship with Lisa if we ended up frustrated later. I agreed with him, but felt guilty about disappointing my sister. Last weekend, Lisa came over to discuss it in person. She arrived unannounced with Alex, saying they wanted to see if we could work something out. I told her again that we couldn't accommodate him. Alex looked awkward, and Lisa was visibly upset. She started raising her voice, saying I was prioritizing my comfort over her fiancé's needs. She also mentioned that it would be so much easier for wedding planning if he stayed here. I tried to stay calm and repeated my reasons: privacy, routine, small living space, and the stress it could add to our household. Alex apologized and said he understood, but Lisa kept insisting, getting more emotional and accusing me of being heartless. I eventually told her that I loved her and wanted to help in ways that didn't involve him living here, such as helping with wedding planning, suggesting housing options, or lending some money for a deposit if needed. She left in tears and hasn't spoken much since. Now, my extended family is split. Some say I'm justified in maintaining my boundaries, while others argue that I should have sacrificed my comfort to help a family member in need, especially since it was only temporary. Lisa has stopped inviting me to wedding planning meetings, and our last conversation ended with her saying that I'm not really family if I can't do this for you. I feel hurt and frustrated because I believe I've tried to be supportive in other ways without compromising my home life. I'm starting to second-guess myself because the backlash from my family is intense, but I also know that giving in might create ongoing resentment and disrupt the life Mark and I have built. I don't want to damage my relationship with my sister permanently, but I also feel that my boundaries are reasonable and necessary. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay with us before the wedding, even though it might help with his housing situation and wedding planning. AITA for not letting my brother's kids visit my house because I don't want to deal with their behavior. I, 32F, have always been close to my younger brother, Ryan, 28M, but over the past few years, I've started to realize that his kids could be a handful, and honestly, I'm exhausted by the thought of having to entertain them in my own home. Ryan has 2 kids, Liam, 7M, and Emma, 5F, who are both very energetic and, in my opinion, not particularly well-behaved. Ryan and his wife, Sarah, 30F, are great parents in many ways, but they have a very hands-off approach when it comes to discipline and manners, which makes visits stressful. Our house is fairly small, but I've always kept it tidy and organized. I enjoy hosting, but I like to do it on my own terms, and I expect guests to respect my space. For the past few years, whenever Ryan and his family visited, I tried to be accommodating, but it always turned into a chaotic situation. The kids run around unsupervised, spill things, leave toys scattered everywhere, and generally don't listen to instructions. It's exhausting to manage, and I often end up cleaning up after them for hours. A few months ago, Ryan asked if he could bring the kids over for a weekend because he and Sarah were going out of town and wanted someone to watch them for a bit. I explained that I wasn't comfortable having them stay overnight because I was busy with work and my own schedule, and also because the kids' behavior at previous visits had been very disruptive. Ryan was visibly upset, but said he understood. A week later, he sent me a message asking if they could come for just a few hours during the day so he and Sarah could run errands. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that either. I explained that my home is a space where I relax and work, and having his kids over, even for a few hours, is stressful and disruptive. I suggested that maybe they could go to a park or a children's activity center instead. Ryan became angry. He accused me of being selfish and not caring about family. He said I'm letting personal inconvenience get in the way of being an aunt, and that I should make sacrifices for family. He also reminded me that when I was younger, he used to watch me, implying that it's only fair that I return the favor now. I tried to reason with him calmly. I reminded him that my situation is different, and that I have a demanding job and other responsibilities that make hosting young children very difficult. I also pointed out that my decision doesn't mean I don't love his kids or that I don't want to spend time with them. It just means I can't do it in my home. I offered to meet them at a park or take them out for an activity that wouldn't disrupt my living space. Ryan did not take this well. He started sending passive-aggressive texts and even threatened not to let me see the kids at all if I continued to refuse having them at my house. Our parents got involved, and they're split. My mom thinks I'm being unreasonable and that families should support each other, while my dad agrees that it's my right to set boundaries in my own home. I've considered compromising, like setting strict rules for the kids while they're at my house, but honestly, I don't think it would work. In the past, even when I tried to enforce rules, Ryan or Sarah would undermine me, telling the kids they didn't have to listen or that Annie is just being bossy. This makes me feel disrespected in my own home, and I don't think it's fair to put myself through that again. I also feel guilty sometimes because I do want to have a relationship with Liam and Emma. I enjoy spending time with them in other settings where I don't have to manage the entire household, like going to the zoo or seeing a movie. But Ryan seems to think that not hosting them at my house equals neglecting them or being a bad aunt. Recently, the tension has escalated. Ryan has started posting on social media about family members who don't step up and aunts who can't be bothered, which I know is about me. I feel hurt and frustrated because I'm trying to balance my own mental health and responsibilities with being supportive of my family. I'm sharing this because I genuinely want to know if I am wrong here. I feel that it's my right to decide who comes into my home and under what circumstances, and I've tried to offer alternative ways to spend time with the kids. But Ryan and some family members make me feel like I'm being unreasonable and selfish. So, AITA for refusing to have my brother's kids over at my house because of their behavior and the stress it causes me. I still love them and want to see them, but I don't think I should have to compromise my peace of mind and personal space to do so. AITA for ruining my sister's wedding over a gift dispute. I, 28F, have always been very close to my younger sister, Emily, 26F. Growing up, we were inseparable despite our occasional fights over silly things. When Emily got engaged last year to her fiancé, Mark, 27M, I was overjoyed and immediately began helping her plan the wedding. I took on a lot of responsibilities, from organizing bridal showers to helping pick venues and even coordinating some of the decorations. I genuinely wanted her day to be perfect. However, things started to go downhill when it came to wedding gifts. Emily and Mark had a very specific registry, and they made it clear they wanted gifts from that list. Most of our family stuck to the registry, and I planned to do the same. But I wanted my gift to feel personal and meaningful rather than just another item off a list. I decided to buy Emily a handcrafted family heirloom necklace that had been in our family for generations. It was delicate, beautiful, and held sentimental value because it was passed down from our grandmother. I knew it was special, and I thought Emily would appreciate the history behind it. When I gave her the gift at the bridal shower, Emily's reaction was immediate and shocking. She looked at it, then at me, and her smile vanished. "This isn't what we asked for," she said sharply. I tried to explain the sentimental value, how it came from our grandmother, and that I wanted her to have something that symbolized our bond. Emily interrupted me and said, "I don't want family heirlooms. I want what's on the registry. We need practical things, not emotional stuff." I was stunned. I had never seen her like this. I tried to let it go, thinking she was just stressed about the wedding. A week later, my parents mentioned that Emily had complained to them about my gift, saying it was inappropriate and that I had ignored their wishes. I felt hurt and embarrassed. I reached out to Emily privately, apologizing if my gift upset her, and again tried to explain that I had chosen it with love, not out of defiance. She responded coldly, telling me to stop making everything about yourself, and that this was her wedding, not a family drama. I decided to let it go, thinking that arguing further would ruin the mood before the wedding. But things escalated on the day of the wedding. During the ceremony, when it came time for gift presentations, Emily openly ignored me and my gift. She refused to thank me and instead made a general comment thanking everyone who followed the registry. Several guests noticed, and it became awkward. I tried to brush it off, but later that night, at the reception, Emily confronted me in front of several family members and friends. She accused me of trying to make the wedding about myself and claimed I had been disrespectful by not following the registry. I explained calmly that my intention was to give her something meaningful and that I didn't mean any disrespect. She yelled that my gift was useless and that I had humiliated her in front of everyone. The argument got heated, and I admit I lost my temper. I told her that she had overreacted and that she had turned a gift meant to celebrate our relationship into a fight, essentially blaming her for being unreasonable. Several guests tried to intervene, but Emily stormed off, crying. Mark came over and asked me to step outside, saying he wanted to talk. He was frustrated, but tried to be diplomatic. He told me that while he appreciated the thought behind the gift, Emily felt extremely hurt and disrespected. I reminded him that it wasn't meant to hurt anyone and that it came from a place of love. He sighed and said that Emily felt embarrassed and that I needed to respect their wishes. I felt torn because I did want to respect their wishes, but at the same time, I couldn't understand why giving something meaningful was such a huge problem. Later that night, my parents pulled me aside. They told me that Emily was furious, that Mark was trying to calm her down, and that several relatives had taken sides. Some even blamed me for causing a scene at the wedding. I felt blindsided. My intention was never to embarrass Emily or ruin her day, but it seemed like my gift had overshadowed everything else. Since the wedding, Emily has refused to talk to me. She blocked me on social media, stopped answering texts, and my parents say she's not ready to speak with me. Family gatherings have been tense, and my relationship with her has deteriorated. I feel awful for causing a rift, but I also feel like I did nothing wrong in choosing a gift that came from my heart. I reached out to a few mutual friends for perspective. Some say I overstepped by not following the registry, while others say Emily overreacted and that a wedding is about celebrating love, not just getting the right items. I feel stuck between guilt and frustration. I love my sister, and I want our relationship back, but I also don't want to feel like my feelings and intentions don't matter. So, AITA for giving my sister a family heirloom as a wedding gift, even though she insisted on registry items? Or is she overreacting and being unreasonable about it? I should add that the necklace isn't replaceable. It's a one-of-a-kind piece, and I really hoped she'd cherish it. Now, I'm not even sure if I should try to talk to her again or just wait for her to cool down, but the silence is killing me. The family is divided, and I hate the idea that a wedding, a day meant to celebrate love, has caused so much resentment. AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé attend my wedding after discovering a secret from his past. I, 32F, have been engaged to my partner, Mark, 34M, for about a year now. We've been together for 8 years, and during that time, my younger sister, Emily, 28F, has been in a serious relationship with her fiancé, Josh, 30M, for 3 years. My wedding has always been a big deal in our family. Our parents are very traditional, and everyone has high expectations. I've been planning every detail meticulously, wanting it to be perfect. Emily has been involved in the planning as much as she can be, which I appreciate. She's excited, and I genuinely want her to be a part of the day. About 2 months ago, while I was helping Emily plan a bridal shower for another friend, she started talking about her fiancé, Josh. She was telling me how he had this wild side in his younger years, but claimed he's changed. I casually asked what she meant, thinking she was exaggerating, and she said he got into some trouble back in college, but it's all behind him now. I didn't press her, thinking it was irrelevant to my wedding, but it stuck in my mind. Fast forward a few weeks, and I was doing some work at home when I overheard Josh on a phone call in our living room. He wasn't aware I was home. The conversation caught my attention because he was talking about a scam he pulled years ago, and it sounded serious. I couldn't get all the details because I didn't want to eavesdrop too much, but the gist was that he had defrauded someone for a substantial sum of money, and it seemed like it wasn't just a harmless prank or a small mistake. I immediately felt uneasy. I didn't want to confront Emily without knowing all the facts, so I discreetly looked up Josh online. I found news articles referencing him in connection with financial fraud during his college years. Nothing criminally charged because he apparently made a settlement out of court, but it was serious enough that it involved deceiving people for profit. I felt sick to my stomach. I know people can change, and I didn't want to judge someone for mistakes they made over a decade ago. But the idea of him being part of my wedding, one of the most important days of my life, felt wrong. I didn't want any reminders of deceit or criminal behavior around my family during the event. I decided to talk to Mark about it first. Mark has always been calm and logical. I explained what I found and how uncomfortable I felt. He was sympathetic, but also reminded me that people can grow and change. He suggested that maybe I could just set boundaries, like not having him involved in certain aspects of the wedding planning or ceremony, but otherwise allow him to attend. I wasn't convinced. A week later, I called Emily to talk privately. I tried to be gentle but firm. I told her I had learned about Josh's past and that it made me uncomfortable having him at my wedding. I explained it wasn't about judging him forever, but my wedding was a day where I wanted to feel completely safe and surrounded by people I trusted implicitly. Emily started crying and said I was being unreasonable, that Josh had changed, and that he's nothing like he was in college. She argued that it's unfair to punish him for something he did over a decade ago, when he has been a loving partner to her. I tried to reason with her. I said, I know people change, but this isn't just a small mistake. It was a serious, intentional act that hurt other people. My wedding is a celebration of trust and honesty, and I can't ignore that. She screamed at me over the phone, calling me controlling and selfish, saying that I was prioritizing some distant past over her happiness and my family's peace. I reminded her that I'm not asking her to break up with Josh. I'm just asking that he not attend my wedding. She said that if Josh couldn't come, she might not come either. I felt cornered. I couldn't imagine walking down the aisle knowing that he was there, smiling and mingling with my family, knowing what he had done. I tried to compromise, suggesting maybe she could attend but Josh stay home, or perhaps he could come for the reception only and avoid the ceremony. Emily refused both options, insisting that if he's excluded, she is too. Our conversation ended in tears and shouting, with both of us deeply hurt. After that, I called my parents and told them about the situation. They were shocked but supportive, saying that it was my wedding and my feelings matter. They did caution me that excluding Emily or causing a family conflict could be messy, but ultimately, they agreed I have the right to decide who attends. Mark has been supportive as well, saying that no matter what, he's standing by me. Now, my dilemma is this. Emily hasn't spoken to me since that conversation. My parents try to mediate, but she says she's hurt and won't attend unless Josh is welcome. Some extended family members have taken Emily's side, saying I'm being harsh and that everyone deserves a second chance. I feel guilty because I love my sister and want her at my wedding, but the thought of Josh being there makes me anxious and angry. I've considered trying to make peace, maybe even just letting him come and pretending everything is okay, but I don't think I can do that emotionally. The wedding is in 2 months, and the tension is growing. Mark keeps telling me that at the end of the day, it's about us, but I can't shake the feeling that excluding him is causing a rift I might not be able to repair. So, Reddit AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé attend my wedding after discovering his past actions, even though he claims to have changed and my sister is threatening not to come without him. AITA for refusing to let my cousin and her kids stay at my house after she suddenly showed up claiming she was in a crisis. I, 31F, have a cousin, Jenna, 29F, who I've always had a decent relationship with. We grew up visiting each other during holidays, and over the years, we've stayed in touch mostly through texts and occasional visits. Jenna is generally fun and easygoing, but she has a history of being impulsive and not thinking through consequences, which sometimes causes problems. I've tried to be supportive, but I've also learned to set boundaries because her decisions often create chaos. About 2 months ago, I got a frantic message from Jenna. She said she and her 3 kids, Max, 8M, Sophie, 6F, and Lily, 3F, needed somewhere to stay immediately because of an emergency with her apartment. She didn't go into much detail, but said she couldn't stay at her parent house, and she didn't have anywhere else to go. She asked if she could come stay at my apartment just for a few days. At first, I hesitated. My apartment is small, and I live alone. I value my space and routine, and I knew taking in 3 kids plus her would be overwhelming. I asked for more details about the situation, hoping she had a temporary solution or some plan, but she was vague and kept insisting it was urgent. I eventually said no, explaining that I couldn't host them due to the size of my apartment, my work schedule, and the fact that managing 3 kids plus her would be extremely stressful. She responded angrily. She accused me of being selfish, uncaring, and turning my back on family in a time of need. She said I was the only family member close enough to help and implied that because I was financially stable and lived alone, it was my responsibility to take them in. I tried to explain that refusing to host her doesn't mean I don't care about her or her kids, but she wouldn't hear it. Over the next week, she repeatedly messaged me asking for compromises. Could I let them stay for just one night? Could I take in 2 of the kids while she figured something out? Could I at least help her find a hotel or a temporary rental? I tried to suggest alternatives. I offered to help her search for a short-term Airbnb, gave her contact for local family shelters, and even offered to watch the kids for a few hours at a time at a nearby park so she could take care of urgent tasks. She refused every option and kept insisting that coming to my home was the only acceptable solution. The tension escalated when she decided to show up at my apartment unannounced. I wasn't home at the time, and my neighbor let her in, thinking she was visiting me. When I returned, she and the kids were there, and she was acting as if this was completely normal. I was furious. I told her she couldn't stay and that she needed to leave immediately. She started crying, claiming that I was heartless and hating her kids, and threatened to call the police if I tried to kick her out. I stayed calm and explained that I wasn't refusing to help because I hated her or her children, but because my apartment simply wasn't set up to host them and it wasn't safe or practical. I ended up calling my parents to intervene. They came over and helped her arrange a hotel for the night. Eventually, she found a temporary rental for a few weeks, but she's been sending me passive-aggressive texts ever since. She keeps saying things like, "I guess family doesn't really matter to you," or "I thought you'd help me when I really needed it." My parents are supportive of my decision, saying that I was within my rights to set boundaries. But Jenna's friends and social media followers are making it seem like I abandoned her. I feel conflicted. On one hand, I'm relieved that she's no longer in my apartment and that I maintain my boundaries. On the other hand, I feel guilty because she really was in a crisis and I didn't let her in. I worry that I could have handled it differently, maybe by agreeing to host them temporarily if I had some support or set clear rules ahead of time. I also feel frustrated because every time I try to explain my reasons, she frames it as me being selfish or uncaring. I have always tried to be a responsible adult, manage my own space, and avoid chaotic situations in my home. I enjoy helping family when I can, but I also know my limits. Hosting 3 young children and an adult who refuses to follow my rules would have caused a lot of stress and potential conflict. I even thought about offering financial assistance to help with the hotel or rental, but she refused that too, insisting that the only acceptable solution was staying in my apartment. Some people have told me that I should have just bit the bullet and helped her, while others say I did the right thing by setting boundaries. I still love my cousin and her kids, and I want to maintain a relationship with them, but I don't know how to move forward without her holding this against me forever. So, AITA for refusing to let my cousin and her kids stay at my house, even though she claimed it was an emergency and in a crisis. I want to support her and the children, but I also need to protect my home, my mental health, and my boundaries. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.